All right. Well, we are on the final stretch of our series of Holy Week, where we have been following along in the final week of Jesus' life here on earth, which is kind of crazy. It's been really good. Today, we're going to talk about the story where Jesus actually washes the disciples' feet. So you probably have heard this before, but we're going to deep dive into it and what the meaning behind it was and how it impacts us today. That sound good? Cool. Let's get into it. But before we do, actually, let's give you some context. If you haven't been here over the last couple of weeks, I encourage you to go back and listen. Brian's done a great job of giving us the picture of where we're at today. And if you haven't really looked at this story, it's really insane to look at how this week has progressed to this point where we are at. So if you haven't listened, go back and give it a listen. They've been really good. And it just kind of gives you, if you're a visual person, it kind of gives you a visual of where we're at. So here's some context to kind of catch you up. So this story takes place in 33 AD in Jerusalem. So this is almost 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem during the Passover festival. Okay, long time ago during Passover festival. This is also, like I just said, the final week of Jesus' life. So an important week where a lot is going on. If you want some extra credit, anybody like extra credit? There we go. We got some extra credit things for you. You ready? So if you like the movies, this is for you. In the movies right now, there is really two things you can go watch. One is The Last Supper. Get it? The Last Supper, because there's another one very similar, where it gives you a view of this week in a very condensed period of time. They kind of sum it up, obviously, to make it into one movie. But it's from the disciples' point of view for Passover, which is different than anything I've seen, so I thought it was really interesting. So if you like extra credit, you can go watch that. The other extra credit is also in the movie theater. They're just throwing them out right now. Is The Chosen Last Supper. The Chosen, if you're watching that, is amazing. The actors do a great job. They do a great job of telling the story. But I think they are summing up all of season 5 into that final week where it's broken up into series. So if you want to go watch it, I think there's 3 parts in the movie theater that are coming out. Thanks, Haven. That's my daughter. So you can go watch those if you want to. If you're like me, you're a visual person, and it helps to put the picture to what we're talking about. And it really just kind of gives you, this is going to be tough. It gives you the picture of what's happening. So I kicked her out. So that's your extra credit, okay? Also, to go kind of deeper into the details of it, this is a Thursday evening. Where Jesus and the disciples were preparing to celebrate a Passover meal together in the upper room of a guest house. Totally private. It was just them. That was the plan. And compared to the rest of the week, this is a kind of a quiet moment. So if you look back at what we've been talking about, it's been kind of hectic over the last couple of days with things that have been going on. The first thing of Jesus coming into Jerusalem, his triumphant entrance into Jerusalem on a donkey, which is completely kind of opposite of what you would think a Savior riding in would be, to kind of set the tone for the week. The following day, he walks into the temple, and we all know kind of what he does is he shows his righteous anger when he walks into the temple that's been turned into a den of thieves. And what's he do? Flips the tables, right? Everybody with me? That's a really cool story, one that a lot of people look at and it's like, oh, that's different. Something's different is happening. And then the next day, it keeps getting better. The religious leaders come up to Jesus, and they're trying to trap Jesus by a series of questions to get him to say something to ultimately get him arrested. There's a lot going on here, and we all know Jesus kind of shuts those down in the most wise way possible by his answers back to them. So a lot is happening. But this is a relatively quiet moment where not a lot happens, but there's a really big impact in what does happen in this quiet moment. So let's get into it. We're going to be in John 13, and we're going to start in verse 1, so you can just follow along with me if you would like. Verse 1, before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them till the very end. It was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything, and that he had come from God and would return to God. So there's a lot going on right there. A lot of Jesus knew, right? Jesus knew a lot. So what did Jesus know going into this Passover meal? The first thing was Jesus knew what was happening. He knew. He knew the hour had come, and the devil had already prompted Judas. This wasn't a surprise to him. Just imagine walking in here. Imagine walking into a meeting and you know it's going to be a bad meeting. Like, you know how you feel, right? Well, Jesus knew, but yet he still walked into this. But the other thing he knew was that it was all in God's control. It was all part of the plan, and he still walked through it. That's really cool, because he knew it was part of the plan to save humanity. It helps when you know things, right? Because you don't get thrown off. Like when I was playing soccer, Brian does a lot of surfing analogies. Well, I relate things to sports that are real. Had to throw that in there. It's a joke. It's a joke. If you're a surfer, it's a real sport, okay? I've watched it. It's insane. But playing soccer, part of my job as an athlete, as a player of the team, or even as a coach especially, was to know how my team played well, right? You have to know how your team plays in order to know how to make the game kind of in your way. And it also helps if you prepare for how the other teams play. So if you watch film, if you do all these things, so you know what you're walking into, right? Just like last night when Duke lost, they obviously didn't realize that the other team was really good at the end and weren't prepared for that, so they lost. But if I did this well, here's the thing. I knew exactly what to look for in the game. So when things were happening, I was able to react and not be surprised and thrown off, right? I knew how to handle it when it came up. I knew how to use our team's skills to counter what the other team was doing. I have a great example of this. I'm going to make this real short, okay? Senior season, we were playing in the playoffs, third round. It was a school of science and math, which if you know them, they're kind of like a magnet school focused on science and math, obviously. And we were playing them, and we knew they had a guy that was probably the fastest guy we'd ever played. And with me being the fastest guy on the team, we did something that we've never done before. And I literally man-marked this guy. Everywhere he went, I was like grabbing his jersey. I was like his shadow. You know, if you know soccer, you don't do that. You play your position. So I was just following this guy around the entire game. And honestly, it got to the point where we were just having a lot more conversation than we were playing soccer because we were just together the whole time. And that's okay because we were doing our job of marking this guy. And the game went on. It was a good game. Nobody had scored the last 5 minutes of the game. We took a shot. The goalie stopped it, and it was a quick counterattack. And if you know soccer, counterattacks are when a lot happens. And because they knew that this guy was so fast, their plan was to literally just kick it and him run. And me knowing that that's what they were going to do was kind of prepared for this. So I went and I chased after him. And we were having like a little showdown of speed, and he did something that I did not expect him to do. So we were both running, and I knew this was what he was good at. And instead of taking a big touch and keep running faster, he completely stopped. And what did I do? I pretty much ran off the field. I was not prepared for it. He took a simple shot, scored the goal, ended the game, and that was how my senior season ended. Heartbreak. Don't laugh at me, I hear it. It was terrible because I wasn't prepared for him to do that. I was prepared for him to do what I knew he was going to do. So when you are prepared, you know how to react. Nothing surprises you. But when something happens unexpected that you weren't prepared for, it can kind of turn into chaos, right? But Jesus, this wasn't the case. Jesus knew exactly what was happening. There was no move that could have happened in this time that Jesus wasn't prepared for. Everybody with me? So he knew what was happening. He also knew who he was, which is really big. He knew he had came from God, he was given authority by God, and he would return to God. That's really cool. Jesus was fully aware of who he was. Imagine this. Jesus is a son of God, knows he is a son of God, knows he has all authority in the world, but chose to humble himself and walk into this dinner with his disciples. What kind of humility does that take to be able to walk into this knowing what's happening and just sit? He didn't let the pressure get to him. He didn't let the stress get to him. He didn't let anything that was going on get to him. He just walked in it because he knew exactly who he was and what was happening and what his purpose was during this time. That's insane. If it was me and I was walking into this supper and I knew what was happening, I would say, guys, what are you doing? I know what's about to happen. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, and we're going to get out of here. Or I would use all the authority that had been given inside of me to somehow get out of it, right? But I'm not Jesus. I can't do that. I can't do what he did. I can't choose to humble myself in the way that he chose to humble himself to that degree. What an example that is for us to follow right there. Let's keep going. Actually, before that, let's take a look at this. This is one of my favorite verses in the Bible. It's Philippians 2, 6 through 8. Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges, humbling himself in obedience to God, and died a criminal's death on a cross. He denied his privileges. He gave up his divine privileges to take our place. Just let that sink in. Let the effect of that sink in on you right now, that he gave up everything to humble himself in obedience to his Father and die a death on a cross that we deserve. Jesus is the ultimate picture of humility. Amen? That's deep. Let's keep going. So he got up from the table, he took off his robe, he wrapped a towel around his waist and poured water into a basin. This is where things start getting a little crazy for the disciples. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around them. When Jesus came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" And Jesus replied, "You don't understand now what I'm doing, but someday you will." "No," Peter protested, "you will never wash my feet." And Jesus replied to this, "Unless I wash you, you won't belong to me." Simon Peter exclaimed, "Then wash my hands and my head as well." Don't you love that response? "Then wash my hands and my head as well, Lord, not just my feet, so I can be entirely clean." And Jesus replied, "A person who has bathed all over does not need to wash, except for the feet, to be entirely clean. And you, the disciples, are clean, but not all of you." Ooh, catch that, not all of you. For Jesus knew who would betray him. Again, he knew. And that is what he meant when he said, not all of you are clean. A lot going on right there. So let's take a second to imagine this scene, okay? You're around eating supper, having a good time. Again, if you go watch your extra credit, you'll see that they're just sitting around, having a good time, eating a meal, sharing a meal during Passover, because the disciples don't really know. They know something's up, but they don't know to the full degree of what's up. Jesus gets up, and they all like, "Oh, what's he doing?" Like, we're all eating. And he walks over, and he prepares to wash the disciples' feet. He gets down, and he starts calling them one by one. Just imagine this. The disciples get up and walk over, and complete confusion. It's got to be kind of a weird scene to be in for the disciples because they don't know why he's doing this. So let's look at a couple things. Why did Peter initially refuse the washing of the feet? And if we're just being real, if I was in Peter's shoes, I'd probably be a little bit embarrassed, right? Like the Lord, the rabbi, the teacher that you have been following, that you believe is the Messiah, has gotten up and gotten down on the ground and started calling you over to wash your feet. Probably a little bit embarrassed because, I mean, let's think about it for us. Think about somebody that you really look up to, that you admire, that you want to be like one day. Just think about that. And then imagine them getting up, going to you, and just start taking on your work, doing something that maybe you should be doing. And you're like, wait, you're not supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do this. You're supposed to be doing the big things, right? He was doing a servant's job for the disciples. Completely flipped his role of what he was supposed to be doing. He took on a servant's job that, honestly, Peter and the other disciples probably weren't willing to do. That's crazy. He completely flipped his position of authority and went to a position of humility and exemplified that by washing the disciples' feet. So Peter initially refuses it, and Jesus replies with unless I wash your feet, you won't belong to me. That's tough. Because it changed Peter's point of view there. Jesus was making a point that Jesus, had to make them spiritually clean by washing away their sin by his death on a cross. He was setting the stage for that right then and there, that unless he washed them clean, they would never be clean. He had to take on that death on the cross in order to completely wash them clean. And that's why he's saying, you don't know right now, but soon you will, because his death on the cross was coming, and we know that now. So he was setting that up to show that they had to be spiritually clean through him. And then I love Peter's response to that. What does he say? Wash all of me. Wash all of me, Lord. Go ahead and wash me all so that way I can belong completely to you. And then Jesus says, physically, you only need to wash your feet because when you take a bath, when you get out, especially during this time, your feet are dirty, right? It's kind of like at camp, if you've ever been to camp or just in college in general. When you're in the shower, what do you wear? Shower shoes. Or if you don't, I'm worried about you. You say no? Oh, no. You need to wear shower shoes because if you're in the shower, even though you're washing, right, your feet are going to get that fungus and you don't want any of that. So you wear shower shoes. Or you don't, apparently. So that's kind of what Jesus is saying is physically, you need to wash your feet because that's the only thing of you right now that's unclean as you're walking in this dust and getting dirty. But spiritually, you are clean, right? You are clean, but now you need daily cleansing. Now you need to make it a habit of being clean daily. And I think we can kind of see this if we look at the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6, where he exemplifies this in his prayer. He said, Lord, forgive me for my sins, right? If we're praying that every day, we are daily going to God and asking to be cleaned. Forgive my sins as I forgive those who sin against me, right? We need to incorporate this prayer into our daily lives to continue to ask for our spiritual cleaning from our Heavenly Father. He is setting that up. He said, spiritually, like you are clean, but now you need daily cleansing. Now you need to continue to make this a habit in your daily lives. And then we get to the last part of those verses that's kind of really awkward. Jesus says, not all of you are clean. And the disciples have no idea what he means. They're looking around. They're like, what's he mean? What's he mean? Is he talking about you? Is he talking about me? I don't know. But Jesus in this moment was calling out Judas because he knew that Judas was about to betray him. He knew that Judas was about to betray him. That's like me sitting here and saying, some of you are listening, but not all of you are listening. Not all of you are listening. Like, that's really awkward. Judas is sitting there, and he's hearing Jesus call him out. Just imagine the pressure that's sitting on Judas knowing that Jesus knows what he's doing. He knows, and yet he's still walking in that humility. He could have stopped it. He could have had the disciples catch Judas, make sure he didn't do it, and just walk in it. And then they'd be good for a little while longer. But he knew that it was part of the plan, and he didn't stop what he was doing. That's real humility. Crazy. Continue on in verse 12. After washing their feet, he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, do you understand what I'm doing? I love that question. Do you get it? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. I tell you the truth. Slaves are not greater than their master, nor is the messenger more important than the one who sends the message. Now that you know these things, God will bless you for doing them. So let's pause right there. There's a lot going on. I love it that he's like, do you get it? Are you with me? I know I got to break this down for you, so here we go. You call me Lord and teacher, and I am. You're right. But now, since I'm washing your feet, I want you to do the same thing I'm doing to other people. Like, this is your job now. You are to go out and to wash disciples' feet, to get down in humility and be humble in your position and do what I am doing to you. And then we move on, the next couple of verses after 17, just kind of continue to talk about Judas. So we're gonna skip over to verse 34. It says, "So now I am giving you a new commandment: love each other, just as I have loved you. You show love to each other. You should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples." There's a lot of weight right there. So let's kind of review this. Why was Jesus washing the disciples' feet? Do you get it? That's that question. Do you get it? Do you get what's happening? And here's the first reason. It's to illustrate that he would make disciples spiritually clean. That was all on him. Nothing else could be done. It was only through him. He is the way, right? He is the truth. He is the life. If that's true, then it's only through him that they can be made spiritually clean, by washing away their sins forever on the cross. That's deep. That's a big, big illustration of what Jesus is about to do. And here's the second reason, and this was more of an application part, is to give an example to follow. So not only is he doing it for them, he's doing it so that way they can do it too. Jesus, teacher, Lord, all of those things, humbled himself to serve his disciples. If we go back to the beginning, it said he loved his disciples till the very end, all the way to the end, which is even more amazing knowing what he knew was about to happen. That's got to be hard. Like, we have to remember, yes, Jesus is God. Yes, he has the same power that God had given him, but he is also human. He is also human. If we go back and we look at all the things that he felt during this time, he feels the same emotions that me and you feel. So if I was in his shoes, I would feel a lot of frustration, a lot of anger, a little bit of fear. I was probably be a little bit worried about what's to come. And we see later that he kind of does show these when he goes to the Lord and he prays, but just you have to put yourself there. Jesus is fully human. He knows what's about to happen, but yet he humbled himself in the most scary of times to serve his disciples. What would that look like for you to do today? When life is crazy, when it's out of control, when you might be worried about what's to come tomorrow, to stop, to be present in the moment, and to serve the ones that you're around. That changes how we go about the daily things that happen in our lives. Jesus kind of summarized the foot washing illustration in verse 34. He says, "So now I'm giving you a new commandment. Love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other." He's calling them out. He said, guys, this is what you need to do. Anybody heard of the 5 different types of love? I think there's 5, right? Pretty sure. But the one that we're going to talk about right now is agape love. Agape love is really tough because it's a decision to do what's best for another. That's tough. If you look it up, it says it's a selfless, unconditional, sacrificial love, often considered the highest form of love, modeled by God's love for humanity. It's tough because it's a decision not based off of emotion, right? It's not based off of how you're feeling in the moment. It's based off of your will rather than your emotion. Which means, you ready for this? You can love people even when you don't feel like it. You can love people even when you don't feel like it. I got a great example of this, and maybe this will help you guys realize what I'm talking about, okay? Every morning I have 2 small children. One is 6 months, the other is 4. My mornings don't really go the way I want them to go. Everybody with me? I wake up to usually a baby waking up around 6, which isn't bad. I can deal with that. But then after that, I just want to go sit on the couch, put Haven next to me, and drink my cup of coffee and watch something just to kind of start my day slow or whatever it is. That doesn't happen because somehow between my kids' telepathy, my 4-year-old wakes up 15 minutes after within that time frame. And what does she say when she wakes up? I'm hungry. Like, all right, I'm going to make you some breakfast. So rather than doing what I want to do, which is just sit there with Haven and chill, or even without Haven, if she would sleep longer, that'd be great. I have to wake up, get my daughter, change her diaper, go get my other daughter, make her breakfast. I have to do all these things, right? And then my daughter doesn't even eat the food. And I'm like, like, dude, I didn't have to do this. I could have done what I wanted to do rather than what you wanted me to do. That's what it looks like to love when you don't want to do something that's better for somebody else, even when you don't feel like it. It's an unconditional type of love that isn't related to how people treat you. You with me? It's not related to how you are treated. It's a response to how Jesus treated you. It's a response to how Jesus treated you. And that means that you can love difficult people. It means you can make the decision to do what's best for another, even when it's not the best for you. It's like if we go back to that verse that I love so much in Philippians, it's like, man, Jesus didn't have to do the things he did. He chose to do it. He chose to give up all of the divine privileges that he had to get down and be humble and show humility and do the things that he did, to set an example for us to do the Father's will. Means you don't love to get something. It means that you love for the benefit of the other person alone. And this was ultimately what cost Jesus his life, right? He chose to love you, not to get anything out of it, but to do what was best for you. What an example of agape love that is, to do what is best for another person. That's real love. But I do want to make this very clear. You know, I've talked about loving people before. We talked about community the last time I was up here. I want to make this clear that just because you love somebody and you're doing something for them, it doesn't mean that you have to stay in it if it's harmful to you. Sometimes it is best to love people from a distance. If it's not your real community, if it's not somebody who's truly in a good relationship with you, this might mean love from a distance. You can't always continue to pour yourself out and to love somebody with this agape type of love if it's harmful to you, if it's hurting you, if it's pulling you down, if it's truly affecting you. And you have to kind of walk this line of, yeah, some agape love is going to be sacrificial, of course. It's how it is with my children. It's how it is with my wife. It's how it is with my friends. Some agape love is going to cost a sacrifice. But if it's truly harmful, sometimes it's best to love from a distance. Everybody with me? Cool. All right. So what is the byproduct of this type of love? I had to kind of think about what is the byproduct of this type of love? What happens from this type of love that just naturally comes with it? And the first thing is God's blessing. So Jesus said this, now that you know, God will bless you for doing them, right? God will bless you for doing them. That's cool, because with you doing this, God's going to bless you in some sort of way. It might not be how you think, but he's going to bless you in some sort of way. And this might be in some really cool way that God just shows up and he answers a prayer, or he does something for you that you couldn't even begin to think about. Or this could be something small. How many people shop at Costco or Sam's in here? Lots of, okay, couple. Well, I despise Costco. If there was like a sales agent that could despise Costco, it'd be me. Because it's so packed in there, right? Anybody with me? It's so packed. You can't get around the aisles. And here's what I want you to think about, okay? If you're walking down the aisle and you're just stuck. You got one person looking at something on this side, one person looking at something on this side, and you're like, I just want to get to the next one. Just slide over. But instead of like just showing that anger and just like huffing and puffing and tapping your foot and just waiting, what if you just sat there and as they turned around and looked at you, you just smiled? What are they going to do? Hopefully smile back, right? Hopefully they're going to smile back. This can be such a small type of reciprocal love from you showing this agape love. You're doing what's best for somebody else, not by huffing and puffing and trying to get your own way, but you just smile and walk by them and they smile back. Or you hold the door for somebody and they smile as they walk in, right? That's what I mean by it can be big or it can be small, and all of those things are a way of God just blessing you in the moment when you're doing it. Super cool. Another really cool thing is I feel like we don't even notice this when we do it, but it's a form of evangelism. which is really cool. So it says, your love will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Really cool. If you want to share Jesus in the best way, love people. Love people. When they see you love, they know something's different about you, right? And this, I don't want you to have to think outside the box here. Let's just be super simple. What if we begin with the people who are closest to us? Like our family, our friends, our workmates, the people that we're always around. If you're a boss, your employees. If you're just, it can be anything. Start with the people who are closest to you. Your spouse, your roommates, kids. Walk in a way that shows agape love and just show them Jesus through that. Sometimes you don't have to preach the gospel to show people Jesus. You with me? Sometimes you don't have to go that far to show people Jesus. Super simple way to just love on people and evangelize to them in that way. I feel like that's one thing that I love about camp is that we do this thing called Infuge where we just go out into the community and we're just loving on people. Last time we did a prayer garden, which was really cool. We painted somebody's house. And it's like we didn't really talk to them about Jesus at all. We just loved on them. It's the most simple way to show them Jesus and to show them God's love through us. All right, so here we're gonna wrap this up here, okay? What is the good news for us when we struggle to love? Anybody struggle to love sometimes? Come on, don't lie. I know who you are. I've seen it. We all struggle to love sometimes. And Peter shows us this kind of in his own way. Jesus tells Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times before the rooster crows. And Peter's response to that is, you're wrong. I will die for you before I do that. And if you know the story, he fails miserably, right? He doesn't do it. He denies Jesus 3 times when people ask him about him. And the rooster crows, and he's like, I did it. I messed it up. But here's the good news. It's okay. Because you are not expected to love perfectly. Let that just fall off you for a second. You are not expected to love people perfectly. You want to know what is perfect? Instagram. Instagram is perfect. We're not Instagram. We can't live in that where everything is perfect. We're always on a vacation. We're always smiling. We can't live that way. We're not expected to love others perfectly or be perfect. And that's okay, because that's not the expectation. Jesus knows real life. He did real life. He knows that love is messy. Can I get an amen? Come on now. He knows that love is messy. He knows when you get annoyed with your spouse. He knows when you lose patience with your kids. He knows when your roommates don't wash the dishes. He knows it all. And he knows how you're going to respond. He knows that real love is messy. But when you struggle with this, on the other side of this, it's the thing that helps us, is God's grace. So when we struggle, we get to see God's grace move in this by him making a way when we struggle and fail. And that way is to admit it. Say, God, I struggled this week. That person annoyed me so bad at work. They just kept asking me to help, and I'm like, you can do it yourself. He knows, and he expects that. But the way back into his grace, by him showing grace to you, is by making a way for you to admit it to him. You admit it, you ask for forgiveness, and repeat. Because the next time's not going to be perfect. God does not expect perfection. You ready? He expects participation in the way of Jesus. You have to participate in the way of Jesus. You practice and repeat. Practice, mess it up, repeat. Practice, mess it up, repeat. Say it with me. Practice, mess it up, and repeat. You do it. You struggle through it. You admit things that you might have messed up on. You ask for forgiveness, and you repeat. And the cool thing about this is you start to see what we're talking about in 2 Corinthians 3, which is 1 degree of glory at a time. You start to move 1 degree at a time. Can't be all in an instant where everything's perfect. You grow 1 degree of glory at a time. Amen? He doesn't expect perfection. He expects participation in the way of Jesus.